Lights, camera, action. Welcome to the Scrapbook Podcast, Director's Cut.
And welcome back to the Scrapbook Director's Cut edition. This one's going to be on Pat this time. Jody, he's always in the wings, ready to make some magic happen.
Hey yo.
Oh, just checking. So I have a fairly loose story that me and Joseph have been working on a little bit, not too much though. So I know you guys are getting sick of hearing us in the 1800s, but I'm pretty sure me and him died side by side in the 1800s. And so we're just trying to like find the life that we lived and died in so we can have closure and shit.
In a crazy ass homosexual shootout.
With each other, like, you fucking him? You fucking him? Bow, bow, bow.
Yosemite Sam.
But dick out though, you feel me? Da. Yeah. Okay, so the story starts out, and I'd say about like the mid 1800s. I'm not gonna give you a place in the world where this is at. Just know that these are white people. That's all you really got to know. Yeah. You can make up the geographic place wherever you want or whatever, but it's a town soaked in famine. They're not doing well. The rains have not come for a lot of months. They're going through a drought on top of going through expansion that outgrew their resources. They overdid it on a lot of things. And so that return on the investment isn't there. And so kids are dying. Young kids are dying. Women aren't able to feed their newborns because they don't have enough food to produce more milk. And so it's just a real down on its luck town. And it is a very religious town. And there is a pastor who, by all accounts, is a robust man. Some would say fat. Belly on him. And he is having to corral the emotions of the city and everybody in that little town. I'd call it a town. I wouldn't call it a city. But I'd say it's about 47, 60 people strong town.
Now.
It was bigger.
Yeah.
Was big. It was a town on the brink of becoming a hub, on the brink of becoming something that like would be remembered. Mm-hmm. And this town, for all intents and purposes, is going to fall into shadow after this. Yeah. So, there is a town surrounded by woods, and I give it about 2 miles from tip to tip before you run into the thicket. But to the side, I'd say it's no bigger than a football field, length or width wise. Yeah. But length, it'll take you a minute to walk through it, but it is nestled inside of a really dense forested area. Yeah. And so the church is on a rise. So there's a hill, call it a small hill, and that's where the church is at. And everybody is so religious that is the focal point of the city. They want you to see it when you come in, because we follow Christ here. And so it opens up with hearing somebody speak in the halls of the church. And it's the pastor trying to calm down the congregation and say, hey, man, I know times are rough. But God doesn't give us anything we can't handle. We are here to be beacons of light, and you can't be that without a little bit of darkness. We have to go through this. And people are screaming, I've lost a daughter. I've lost my sons. You understand as a parent, when you lose a kid, life past that becomes real numb. And you're like, why are we even doing this anymore? And so there's been so many kids dying and older people. There's none of them barely in the town because they're focusing all their efforts into the people that can produce something and the young people. And the young people are dying because there's not enough food in the town.
I want characters to stick out. We have the super just big-bellied priest. Mm-hmm. Scraggly beard, unkept hair. You know what I mean? His clothes are dirty around the wrist and around the feet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I want a the blacksmith of the town to be carrying around the skull of his daughter, just as because the look of him isn't that's a blacksmith, or that's a character who's going to be talking out the whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those just a character that has something about him, which is he carries around as a preaching element, as this is what she is now. You know what I mean? You guys can't just forget about her, because when everybody dies, motherfuckers, over time, we'll just forget about you.
You bury them, and then out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and then that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? But you guys will not forget that this shit happened. I'll refuse to let you guys just go into a lull sense of just forgetting my child, because she was once here. She did. So exist.
He's one of the, he's the antagonist of the story, because he's pressing the issue that things need to be upfront. You need to be forthright, and on top of that, we need to be honest with what's happening here.
Yeah, don't give me that God shit. I don't want to hear that shit.
Where is he at? Where's this rain at? I know where my daughter's at. I buried her.
Yeah, she's right here in my hands.
And I took her head off to show you guys that the reality of life isn't in the clouds. Yeah. It's here.
Yep.
It's in these soils that give us nothing. And he's just so bitter and angry, and he has every right to be.
Yeah.
The pastor is leaning so hard on faith that he isn't accepting, because he's a pastor. He has no kids. Mm-hmm. So that loss he would never understand until he had a kid. And so he allows him into the congregation. They're having conversations and shit. And the pastor's on the back foot at this point. People are starting to, less and less people are showing up. People are still respecting him in town, but they're not asking him, hey, Father, for forgiveness. They're not showing up like they should to pay homage to God or to pay their respects.
Yeah.
And he feels it slipping. And he gives this great speech at the end of it saying, we aren't the focal point of life. This world doesn't revolve around us. We may lose something, but it's for the betterment of God and the world in general. And who are we to say that we know more than God? Mm. And so people are walking away like, oh, it's kind of shit, but it makes sense, man. Like, you guys see the night to understand the dawn. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And what's a goon to a goblin?
Exactly. Nuffa. Exactly. And so the pastor goes home, and he lives behind the church. And it's not a crazy good shack, but it's not a piece of shit shack. Mm-hmm. But there's no way to get to that shack without going through the church, because there's a backed up way to the forest that's on the edge of everything. And so he's in the midst of praying to God, saying, I need something to happen, or we will lose. I am a shepherd to your flock. They are straying. I need your guidance. I need a message from you to show me that they should still be here under me. Let me know if I'm not the shepherd you need. He's 100% into the belief that God is going to do something, mm-hmm. and that it's on him. Why shit's fucking up?
Yeah.
Goes to sleep that night crying on his knees. He's praying to God. He goes to sleep and his knees are black. Because every night is praying for a miracle to save this village that is looking to him for relief, whether it be with their stomachs or their minds. Mm. I bring relief to you one way or the other. And he wakes up to, and he's like, what the fuck is that? Gets up, pushes his bottle of liquor to the side. I'm just checking. just checking. I'm just checking. No, but he goes to the door and opens it up. It's a pregnant goat.
What does it look like? Give me a color.
All right. I have this in my head. It goes from a sandy, dark blonde, and it trickles into a solid white on the belly. Mm. So it almost looks like the belly is frosted with white, and then it goes into an amber, dark brown up top. And it has those, it has that thing where like the face doesn't match the body. So like it go from frosted belly white to an amber top to a black and white face.
Yeah. Like it was as if it was pressed in ink.
Yeah, it doesn't seem correct, and he's wondering how the fuck did you get to my door unless you came from the forest.
Horns or no horns?
Baby horns.
Baby horns.
Small horns.
Okay.
Because the females can have horns, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
They can.
They can, right? But they're little nubbies.
Yeah, exactly. They're not as robust as the males, but there are anomalies.
And that's what the story picks up, because I'll talk about it later.
Go ahead.
And so he opens the door, blue light. Blue light means it's the first light of the morning. And I don't know where I heard it from, but 3 a.m. is the witching hour.
Yeah.
3 something in the morning is the witching hour. Mm-hmm. And so I would even like it for him to come out around that time. Or come out like a little bit like past that. But it's like, why is this thing at my doorstep? And we don't have goats in this region. You know, unless somebody brought it here, there's no reason for a goat to be here. And so he sees the goat, and then he knows immediately that it's pregnant. And he's like, this is a sign from God. This is God giving the town food. And he tries to take the goat into the church. Won't go into the church. Refuses. Will go around it. Won't go into it. And so he rings the bell. The town folk begrudgingly come to the meeting because they're like, here we go again with these fantastic stories of how God's going to save us, you know, and I've lost my kids. So what you got now, man? They get there and they see him swelled with pride.
Shit-eating grin on his face.
Shit-eating grin, looking at them like, yeah, what did I say? Mm-hmm. What did I say, you sons of bitches?
So where are they at again?
What do you mean?
Like, as in, what part of the town are they in? He rings a bell to me.
They're outside the church.
Okay.
In the front of the church.
Okay.
Because he can't get the goat to walk through it.
Or in it.
Yeah, or in it at all. It won't step onto holy ground, right? Mm-hmm. And so the goat's outside, and people are like, where did he get that goat? People are living off squirrels and shit. And like the bare essentials of life. And so he's like, hey, you know, this is what it is, man. Like, I told you yesterday that God will never give us something we can't handle. Loss is not loss forever. Loss is lost in this life. You will see your kids again. But your faith is what gets you to see your kids again. And he gives this like huge speech of how God can take, but you're supposed to be grateful he even gave it to you. Mm. This isn't for you. This is to show you what I do for you. Mm. And so his message kind of skews to personal shit.
Yeah.
More than the actual scripture, like most religions. Yeah. And so the blacksmith is like, I want to eat that shit. Let me butcher it right now and we'll all eat tonight.
Yeah, divide them up. It's only fair. We've all starved. We've all lost. Let us all enjoy this prize given us by the good Lord. He's even kind of mocking him as he says it, but he's got a knife in his hand. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna do it. And then the pastor's like, we can't do this. It's pregnant. We can build off of this. We eat the first baby. However many babies this thing has, we would just have a food source for a certain amount of time. And he's just like, the blacksmith is really being an asshole about this and being like, so what about the people that are going to die tomorrow from starvation? Do we just wait? And maybe like the spike of emotion, the next day somebody dies. Mm. Like an older person who's like, you know, like we were saying earlier, like when you're on that dizzy path to death from starvation, you just take a nap and don't wake up. Yeah, exactly.
And they go to bed praising God, that person. And then they wake up like, today's the day to eat. Today's the day to eat. Dad. And they go move him because it's stiff as shit. Mm. Blue in the face and like. And then that's when they come out blacksmith sees homeboy crying. He's like, what happened? He's like, my father died of starvation. He's like, we need to go get that goat. And I'd say the priest becomes really protective of the goat and doesn't believe that it belongs to the people. He believes that it belongs to God.
And in turn belongs to him.
Exactly.
I think it would be pretty good to see when he brings the goat in front of people and says like it's a blessing from God and it's pregnant and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's like a false idol in the sense of he has people like rubbing the belly as like nigga, we made it. Like it's gonna bless me to that. This blessing is gonna bless me type of thing. You know what I mean? Just rub on the belly because that's how he found out I was pregnant. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Feels his belly and kicking inside, and everybody's like congregating around the goat and shit. And then the blacksmith stands up and just like, fuck that. And then the day after, the person dies, and he just like,
Continue. Go ahead. I like where you're going with that. I like where you're going with that.
Literally, that's what I was just tweaking that part.
Okay.
And then right until where the person dies, their dad dies and shit like that.
So what I'm thinking is this essentially turned into, I'd say, a 4-day thing. Because everybody's on the edge of death. Everybody's on the edge of starvation. People are thinking about cannibalism at a certain point. Like, can we use these bodies?
Yeah.
Can we do something with them? And I would think that maybe, like, just for shits and giggles, people start to try to steal the goat. Like, in the middle of the night. And they're cast from the village or something.
They're thwarted. Like, okay, so say the blacksmith, since 3 years ago, when the famine started, he's had to start to build cast iron coffins to make sure people don't steal bodies and eat them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because that'll be the only way you'll stop somebody.
Well, what
from
about
digging up a body?
What about on that same lane? What if you just have? What if you switch out the blacksmith for the gravekeeper?
Okay.
I'm
just saying that'll be dope, but the ability to make that's what.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know how much cast iron you can get in a town that's on famine street.
I mean, you can forge
the nails.
You can, or out of rock, you can melt rocks.
You can melt rocks.
Yeah,
in a small town.
I mean, he's a blacksmith. He can melt any fucking thing if the heat's hot enough.
How do they get the heat hot enough? It's not just a fire, is it?
Yeah, that's all blacksmiths are. They literally it's fire, stoking fire until it's hot.
Until it's hot enough to like bend and manipulate.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether he's a gravekeeper or a blacksmith, he is aware that people are stealing bodies and eating them to stay alive. And you can't eat people. It's not good for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially dead humans. It's not good for you. Mm-hmm. And so that could even be like the first step on the acceptance of eating something you shouldn't. Mm. Eating something that's dead and that you cared for. So while the priest is like catching people, him and whoever else are catching people trying to steal the goat to eat it, he's like, I cast you from my sight, demon. I cast you from my sight, Satan. And he's like, you're not God, man. I need to eat. My family needs to eat. People are coming to him with real troubles. And he hasn't eaten. You feel me? But people are like, why are you so big, cuz? Mm-hmm. How are you staying so big if you're not eating? And rumors get to going that he's eating something. How is he staying like this and we're all dying? Yeah. And he begins to become more, what would you call it, paranoid that people are trying to usurp his power rather than like, you know how like when you're good at something, you can see other people like trying to do what you do.
Yeah.
And then they can't do it as well. Mm-hmm. But then when you see somebody do it as well as you, you're kind of like your eyes on them now.
Yeah.
The blacksmith has swayed people to distrust the priest. And he's like, I'm the voice of this community. I'm the voice of God. And he's like, you're the voice of you. God wouldn't do this to us. God would have told us to leave. You know, yeah, the Jews searched for 40 years in the desert. He's clearly okay with niggas moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why are we staying here? You want to hold this place of power over us. And so after homeboy dies, after the goat gets there, then he's like, yo, like, we should be out of here. We should be eating this goat. God doesn't give you rain to not drink it. And then the goat gives birth. And people are there. It's a festival. It's a we're all going to eat. People are thin, and the people that can't make it aren't eating, and they're dying at the house. Mm-hmm. So it's like, instead of the 60 people that would start it, we're now at like 24.
Okay. Because
I would think just for the story, they die faster once this goat gets here.
Okay.
I don't know why. We'll figure it out, or we'll switch that up. I don't give a fuck. But the first baby is born, and they all are watching it in like excitement of like multiple goats are going to come out at one time.
Yeah.
We're going to have enough to feed the village, and then we got milk to survive on for a few months until we get the next goats. And the baby goat comes out. And I would really like it to be a stillborn. But the goat has a manipulated face. It's not different than a goat, but it's wider. And the face is more of like an oval compared to what a goat face looks like.
It's upside down triangle.
Yes, exactly. And so they're like, that's weird, but they destroy that goat. They all eat the fuck out of the goat, and they're like, nothing else came out of it. And they're not passing it around. People are taking from each other to get to the goat. They're not cooking it. They're eating it raw, blood, organs, intestines with feces in it.
After birth,
they're eating the placenta, and they're like, there should be more, but nobody's pissed off about it because they've got a mouthful of food. Almost immediately, people begin to throw up. But we were talking about this. When you're starving and you haven't had food in like 14 days and you're living off of water and spit, you can't just take down a double-double and fries and a shake. Mm-hmm. You'll fuck around and throw up crazy and then die from the exertion of throwing up.
Yeah.
So they're overdoing it. I'd say out of that 24, 6 people died that night. Due to dysentery, due to all the things that you have when a human that does not eat raw shit is eating the raw shit of a goat that just showed up on a nigga's doorstep. And so the pastor, he enjoys a little bit of it, but he enjoys the fact that he's fed the people. He's fed his flock.
Yeah.
I fed the people that needed me to do it. I did that. And the blacksmith didn't eat anything. He didn't eat anything because he's scrounging off of squirrels in the regions, rats, shit like that, like he's been doing. But he's had a falling off with the priest because the priest won't acknowledge that like God is.
Maybe we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just as lost as us, and you're not admitting it, and that's what's fucking me up. You
admit it.
You admit it. You're saying that you have a handle on things. Look at you.
Where's the handle?
Yeah.
6 people died last night. With like shit in their drawers and throw up on their shirts. What are you handling?
Yeah.
He comes to the pastor after everybody's eaten and people are throwing up on the outside because they didn't bring the goat inside. The goat is either in the back by his spot or like in a local like sheltered barn area or something.
I want it to be right in the direct center of town, so everybody sees it
and can get to it.
Yeah, and can get to it, but also keeps everybody honest and sees that if somebody tries to steal it, you can easily stop them.
Mm-hmm. Like Ultron said in the Age of Ultron and Avengers, he was like, they made this church in the center of town so everybody could equally feel close to God. Mm. Yeah. And he laughs at it, and I'm like, ugh, that was dope. Whoever came up with that needs a raise.
Yeah.
But that works better is that he's like, to make it fair for everybody. Mm-hmm. This isn't fair, though. There's not enough food for everybody. Not everybody is out here. And you got people who are stronger taking away more pieces than they should. And there is no, fairness in this situation.
Yeah.
But the pastor's portraying it as God is supplying his people with food. Blacksmith sees this shit, and then he notices the next day people are throwing up. They're not coming out of their houses after. And then he's found like 1 or 2 people dead. And then he's like, people are dying off this. You can't be feeding people this goat. And he's like, so you don't want people to be fed. Weren't you the one that was on my doorstep waving your daughter's skull like a savage? Weren't you the one that did that? So now that we have food, you don't want to... So you want to deny God is what you want. He's like, this isn't God. God doesn't kill people. And he's like, have you ever read the Bible? Have you ever read the Word? God kills the unrighteous. And you're proving yourself to be unrighteous right now. Watch where you step. You're on holy ground right now, sir. And he's like, I don't think I am. And so they have this butting of heads, but the blacksmith is like the pastor is a bigger man than him, but the blacksmith works with his hands. He's got that Popeye's forearm, but not distorted. It's just like, I squeeze your hand, I will break something if I want to.
Yeah, and how about there's been so much, death has come so quickly that the bodies have just piled up, like literally piled up. They couldn't put everybody at rest, you know what I mean? So everybody that's been found to be dead after the first babe was eaten, they just stacked them in a pile. You know what I mean? Maybe it's on the side of where the blacksmith is, or
it's on town. It's on the edge of the cemetery.
Yeah,
it's on the edge of the cemetery, but to have proceedings be, that's where you could get to them. It's not too far away from the church.
And that's how much people are just ignoring everything else but this goat, is that they're leaving their now dead loved ones in a pile.
Within smelling distance of the church that you're like basically worshiping a goat at now.
Yeah. And then maybe nobody sees the blacksmith doesn't see anybody throwing up, but maybe at the witching hour, that's when everybody just starts to just vomit.
That would be beautiful. That'd be beautiful, is that like at that witching hour, that 3 a.m. time.
Yeah, that's when everybody starts convulsing and like throwing
and
up.
He's in his place with the stomach full of rat and fucking squirrel.
Exactly. But like crafting like some sort of something. He's crafting something at this point in time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And so he starts to see the like distance in between reality and the situation in the mind of the pastor. Because he's like, yo, why are you not burying these bodies? He's like, that is not for me to worry about.
How many babies now have been born?
1.
Okay.
The second baby, people are fiending for now. The first baby, people were waiting for.
Yeah.
Now people are fiending for it. The people that didn't die on that initial one are now fiending for it. And it becomes, again, like a festival. Like, people are, like, dancing around this goat. And
nude.
Exactly. And you're losing that, or you've been lost the religious aspect of it as far as Christianity goes. but it's still under the guise that this is what God gave us. And so you got people dancing around this goat as like, nah, nah, and it's giving birth because they pull out like a half human, half goat baby. But because people are feeding so hard, they aren't letting the goat do it naturally. They're pulling it out of the goat. And people are ripping off pieces of the baby as it comes out.
So they're not even noticing, really?
They are, but they're feeding.
Yeah.
Not everybody is. It'd be like if me and you were going to go steal a piece of something, and I rip it off. I'm like, this looks like a baby foot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm in a state of like, eat. Get this done now. I'm not going to have time. It's a frenzy. I'm in a frenzied state.
Yeah.
It's a piranha trying to get its piece of flesh before the whole horde takes everything.
A stupor of hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And also, at this point in time, the priest plays his part by not stepping over the boundaries because these niggas outnumber me, although they're believing in this shit. Mm-hmm. So they're broken up into groups. So that first group of 12, 6 die out of that 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they get the first babe. But there's another group that gets the second, and then another that gets the third. So everybody gets fed. So it's not 20 niggas hopping on one babe.
But it's the fact that people that are in your group are close to you, and you're willing to like shove them out the way.
Yeah.
To get to a piece and rip it out of a live thing.
Yeah.
Not even try to cut it up to eat it.
And these babes are coming out naked, like no fur on them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing. Like normally, obviously, they come out with fur and shit like that, but they're coming out completely naked.
And the first one comes out looking like a goat. It's just hairless.
Yeah, exactly.
The second one comes out with like kneecaps that look like a human, but it has hooves. And then,
yeah,
you know, like the face still looks somewhat like that, but it becomes blockier, more like a human.
Yeah, and the hips are as human hips.
They're wide. They're the ones that I stand up straight. I don't stand on all fours.
Yeah.
And so people aren't recognizing this, but the only people who do, blacksmith and priest. Mm-hmm. And this is to symbolize the distance the pastor has taken from God, because each time they're feeding on this thing, he's standing above it. Arms spread. Open, almost like God on the cross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's sacrilege, that's blasphemy, because you're imitating and you're pretending that you gave this to the people.
Yeah.
You should be giving your praise to God. You're receiving that praise and you feel emboldened and powerful from it. And you're like, yes, I did this.
Yeah.
I could have ate this motherfucker in the back of my property and nobody would have fucking known. But all these motherfuckers getting eaten, like all these motherfuckers eating, that's me. That's me, baby.
Should the priest be transforming in some sort of way?
I would say underneath his clothes.
Okay.
Because he's not feeding on... Here we go. This is wordage. He's not feeding on the actual meat. He's feeding on the respect and admiration of the people that should be given to God.
Yeah.
So now you are becoming a false idol in your eyes, because you're telling them, God put me in this position of power. Without me, this doesn't exist. But literally, you just said prior to that, God put me in this position of power.
Yeah.
So I am nothing without him, right?
Right.
He has forgotten that part of it and is now feeding on the acceptance, and he's just reveling in the fact that people are like, we thought you were wrong. You weren't wrong. And he's like, I know I wasn't wrong. I know I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired, Joe.
All right, bro, I can take over.
Go ahead.
All right, so that's the second one was born, and the same witching hour happens, and more people die.
Is the blacksmith aware of this at this point?
Yeah, because he's the one who has to deal with these bodies. He's sober to it. Like you said, he has a belly full of rats and skunk and shit like that. That he's also been helping his group with, because there's a group that are around him that are backing him, you know. And then, though it's about time for the third one, the bell rings. The third group runs out, and that's the rest of the existing population. Not the rest of the existing population, the rest of the group that hasn't eaten yet.
Okay.
So it's waiting for this third one to appear and shit like that. So people, the priest walks out there. His hands are out like this, spread, and he's waiting for the third one to be born and shit like that. And this one's natural, and then the noises the goat is making are starting to sound different now. First it was like ah, and now it's just like exactly.
It's going back and forth between human and goat.
Exactly. So, and now people are naked as fuck still, like rolling around in the mud.
People are
kissing
like
the feet of
they're having sex on the side of this shit.
Yeah.
Like it's becoming a
sight to be seen, to say the least.
You see this from the cut, you're like, these white niggas get crazy.
Right? And then he's the priest's feet are getting kissed on and shit like that, and he comes out of his robe. The first time you see this big fat motherfucker, or what you think is big and fat, comes out of his robe. And it's just his belly's
He's
humongous.
barrel chested with his ribs and his chest plate. Everything else just distended belly, right?
Thin arms. Thin legs. Just a big belly. You thought this whole time
he was eating more than you were.
That he's eating at all. And he's not. You know what I mean?
He's living off that juice.
Little bitty dick. And he's just like he's reaching excess with this shit. Like pure ecstasy as this shit is happening, and people, men and women, are kissing all over his body and shit like that, like he's the embodiment of God himself. You know what I mean? Because they said that, the burning bush, if you look into the burning bush, you will be blinded. Because God is so great. You will lose vision in his sight. So niggas just like, in this sight of holiness, like, it is bringing out the demons in these niggas. They're just holding them and caressing him and shit like that. And he's just like, feed. And the moans of the goat become louder, and then they stop.
Let me pick up.
Go.
He's sitting there, hands out, being kissed on, getting sucked on a little bit. Not like his peen, but like people are like licking the side of his legs and shit. Groveling. You mean like The Last Jedi, where Luke is like that and Princess Leia is like hugged up on his leg.
Yeah. The stupidest fucking way. Bitch, you can fight too. Get up.
And also, that's your brother, so calm down.
Yeah.
And for real, that was incest. That was the first idea of incest.
Yeah.
But anyways, the baby of the goat comes out, and you hear a baby crying, not a goat crying. And everybody bows out like it's a king. Like, none of them even try to approach the baby. They all back out and bow to it.
Like, at first they're huddled over it.
Yeah. Waiting to eat it.
Yeah. And then it comes out and they start weeping.
And they revere it.
Yeah. And they draw back. And women are just like hysterically crying at the shit. And then it slowly simmers down into nothing. And then it pans out and all foreheads are in the dirt. You know what I mean? And all you see is, and even parts of the faction that the blacksmith was with are bowing now. And he's standing there.
And the blacksmith's own man standing up.
Yeah.
Him and the pastor.
Yeah.
Blacksmith's at the back of the room. Very back. He came in and stopped this shit to be like, y'all are doing dumb shit now.
Or the back of the quad.
Quad
area. Yeah. You said room, As I said that, I was like,
I know we're in the quad now, and I'm switching my brain over. Okay, but like, the blacksmith's just watching this in awe. Not in awe, in disgust.
Yeah.
Pastor's watching it in awe. And he goes down and he steps to the goat and he grabs the baby and he picks it up. And you don't see the baby yet. You don't see the baby. And he holds the baby and you see like we gotta get a great actor to do this because he's naked. He's covered in like dried blood, sweat, and saliva because he's been screaming. He's in a deranged state where he's screaming and spit is spewing out. Mm-hmm. Even there's a little bit of foam because he hasn't been eating.
Foam is
He has not been eating. He has not been doing anything to preserve your life. Why are you here? What deal did you make to be here? Mm. And he's holding this baby in his hands, and he's looking around like, I did it. I did it. And he's so lost contact with the religious part of himself that started this that he's excited to see the birth of the devil. And it's the devil. He's holding a baby that is human with the legs of a goat, the horns of a male goat, and is not crying anymore. It's just looking at him.
Is it slowly growing?
I mean, we could do some like as he puts the baby down and turns around, the baby is standing up. Mm. And then he goes to get like a garment for the baby or something and turns around and the baby's like teenage age. Yeah. And then the blacksmith's like, holy fuck, what the fuck? He's watching this go down as he turns around to get the baby the garment. Mm-hmm. Then he gets the garment and he's like, how did he age that quickly? Yeah. And then he goes to leave and he was like, blacksmith. And it's a deep voice, blacksmith. It's almost like it's in your ear. Mm-hmm. And he's like, turns around, he's like, you didn't believe. You know, like he's showing him that out of all of this town, all the people I killed, you upset me the most. Mm-hmm. And he's walking towards him, right? The baby. That is clearly like a teenager, young man now.
Now, every step he's growing larger.
Yeah. And you step and you see hooves lead into calves, lead into quads, lead into a really big dick, into like a hairy chest, almost like the nigga that was training Hercules, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at his face and his eyes. I want them to be scary because they're the eyes are the windows into the soul, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know how to articulate or say that the eyes are, but the eyes are something you see from a distance. Yeah. You see them before you see the person. Mm. And he's walking towards them, gives them a great speech on how accepting the inevitable is humans. It's a human's role. You aren't us. You aren't immortal. You can't be reborn. You die here and you stay here. Your daughter's dead. She'll never be back. None of these kids will be back. You think we give shit back once we take it? He's like, I'm going to kill all of you. And like on the way there, he's having this speech, but people are still praising him. Yeah. Because those aren't the people he's going to kill. He's going to go on a rampage and do whatever the fuck he's going to do. And he meets the blacksmith, right? Like face to face, and the blacksmith is terrified, but he's aware of his situation. I can't run from this thing. This is clearly a demonic thing. He doesn't know it's the devil yet, but he knows it's demonic. Mm-hmm. And I think it should end with him like leaning forward and whispering the last thing that nigga said to his daughter before she died. Mm. Like, sleep easy. It's almost over. And then it fades out because clearly he kills the blacksmith. Blacksmith has been popping off the whole time. If the blacksmith had had it how he wanted, this third baby would have never been born. You've done everything to keep me from birthing the second, coming of the devil. You did everything to work against that. And I think it'd be dope for like the whole congregation at a certain point to be dancing.
Yeah, so they're doing it in between the births.
But like when you see him walking towards him, everybody's kind of still and bowing. But as he passes them, they stand up and started doing weird, contorted dances.
Interpretive dancing and shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And the pastor, you see him just staring at him from a distance. They don't zoom in on him, but as he's walking in between his horns, you can see that the pastor is just standing there naked, looking directly at him. Just to be like, I stand on the right side of the devil.
I want him to die.
How?
By the blacksmith plunging a knife into his fucking
No. I want this to be the devil won in this scenario.
Oh, yeah. He's going to win. He doesn't kill the kid.
But for the blacksmith to be in the very back and then be like, I'm going to make it past the devil to get to the pastor.
I mean, as he's going to get the garment, the devil's, what, a fucking teenager?
Yeah.
Who doesn't...
But you're terrified at that point. You just saw a baby come out.
I've seen my kid die. I'm not terrified of shit. I don't give a fuck what it looks like.
Well, terrified or confused is fucking what's happening. Like people lose kids and then still get scared.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I won't.
You're not him, though. You're not him, though.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, just like you put yourself in a scenario on how things will go, like, that's not plausible in your mind that something goes this way.
But the blacksmith isn't Joseph. He's a blacksmith. You know
I know
what I mean?
that, he's also carried around his daughter's head so her body won't be eaten by people in the village.
But I think that he's understanding the reality of what the fuck
he's
been fighting against.
He doesn't even believe in God. How the fuck he's going to believe in the devil?
He did, though.
He did at one point, but now no more. He did, though.
And so he's like, once you see the face of evil, you know that there has to be a face of good. This universe isn't one lopsided thing. So
it was
you
lopsided
understand.
In the village, though.
It was lopsided for everybody, though. Nobody was doing well.
Exactly. So how can good be there if all evil just won?
But what I'm saying is to see human evil as far as starvation, as far as not being able to feed your family, seeing people like you're like, he's not going to be alive tomorrow. That's not bad. Evil. That's not exactly. So he wasn't seeing evil up until that goat got there.
Right.
But when you see a goat person be born.
Or what you think that when somebody sees that. Because I think that person can, first of all, try to kill a motherfucker or try to stop that. Because all this whole time people are dying and this head of the congregation is speaking all this shit and he's just not believing. Why would we think that the whole time he'd just be like, that's not fair, instead of doing something about it?
Well, because that's what he was there to do. He showed up to do something. And like you said, even his followers are bowing to him. And so that's going to cause a bit of pause in you.
But it's been days, though.
Me and you are best friends, right?
Right.
Me and you going to fight somebody, right? And you turn around and I'm not doing what I should be doing. For a quarter second, you're like, what the fuck is happening here, man?
Yeah, we're talking about a quarter second, right?
Exactly. But if it's 18 people and then you see a goat person come out of somebody and then grow up within 15 seconds, you're like, yo, what the fuck is happening?
There's been two babes.
He wasn't there for those.
He was.
No.
We've said he was there every day.
He didn't eat any of them.
He didn't eat any of them, but he was watching.
Exactly, but
what makes him watch the third day then?
He's going there to stop this shit. He's going there to kill the goat. I think at a certain point he's realizing that in consuming this goat, you're consuming evil. You're dying at 3 a.m. sometime, you know? And so he's going there with that group of people that believe him.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, yo, this is... I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. We haven't eaten it because ours is the last thing. Like you said, you have them have it in groups.
Right.
His group didn't have anything to eat.
Right.
But they are all witness to the goat giving birth.
Exactly.
So to make sure that it's fair, right?
Right.
Like I said, though, they are taking the baby and eating it so quickly, you don't see anything outside of the nigga who's ripping the leg off. So that first baby is hairless, but they're eating it raw.
Uh-huh.
So all he sees is a mound of people ripping a body apart and eating it.
Right.
Second time.
Right.
They're even more ravenous, and they rip it apart before he sees it. This is the first time he's witnessing the actual birth, because people are now praising this thing and dancing around naked like it's an event.
Right.
Before it was a feeding. Before it was a wounded calf and hyenas attacking it.
Right.
Now it is a king being born.
So, but why would he go there that third day?
Well, not the third day, the third birth. They're not happening in succession like that. They're happening a few days apart.
I know that. Okay, so second day, third day, like, why would he go there?
To stop it. Because the first time he did it, he was like, it'll come around to me. It'll come around to our group. He wanted to disperse and kill it immediately. Right. Then it went in factions, like you said, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. By that first one, he was like, that's a little sketchy that everybody's real sick and that people died. Second one, then he's like, yo, everybody keeps... like, we lost 50% because you were like, it was 20-something, now there's 12.
Okay, so why wouldn't he just say, because we're eating raw meat, that they're dying?
Because he's eating raw meat. You can eat raw meat.
I know that, but why in this case is he not saying...
Because of the time of death.
Right, but is he up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Well, you said he was up when that first shit went down, that he was up doing something.
Right.
So he's witnessing people at this hour dying from the very beginning. And he didn't equate it the first time. Uh-huh. But just being a nigga who doesn't trust the pastor anymore is being like, yo, like, let me just stay. And like you said, nigga, once you lose your child, you're not scared of shit, right?
Right.
You don't sleep well.
Right.
So he's not going to sleep early.
He catches this, right? What makes him not try to kill the priest?
Because
because he's wanting to kill this anyway.
His grief is with, or his anger is in the goat,
and not the person saying this, and that put everybody to a frenzy.
No, because I do believe up until he catches him, like, because they haven't been doing dancing naked shit until the third baby.
Right. When the kissing and all.
Exactly. All of that happens at the third baby, right?
Right.
So he is just seeing people overexcited to eat for the first time in months. So you can't look down on that. As a man who lost his child to starvation, right, he's going to say, hey, y'all need to eat too. I would be damned if somebody told me don't eat with my daughter when she's getting ready to die. You know what I mean?
But what got him up for the third day is I'm going to kill something.
It was the fact that people were dying after immediately consuming the goat. Right.
So what makes him not kill anything that third day?
I mean, bro, if you want him to kill the priest, he can kill the priest. He can kill the priest. It's the devil.
Right.
And he is a man in a righteous fury. Uh-huh. And that's pointing him towards one thing. Like, who was it? Who was cuz that saw who spoke to the devil? I forget who it was, nigga. But there was somebody in the Bible who spoke to the devil and he knew it was the devil. Not Jesus? God. Not God. No, that was the 40 days and 40 nights and he talked to the devil. No, it was like an apostle. Was it Judas? Peter? It was one of them. But anyways, when you are in a righteous state, I do believe you do transcend human morality and you see the evil for what it is and what's causing it.
Right.
And so he's seeing that this goat is the pinnacle of where everything else is trickling down from. I didn't like this pastor beforehand, but he had a good heart on him. And he wasn't fucking us. And you know, receiving all this adulation and love and all this other shit for shit he didn't do. He saw a man go hungry every day. He saw a man speak the same word every day. The second he got there, he sees the pride, the ego. He sees all these deadly sins that are popping up in him. But as he sees it for what it is, he's like, he didn't bring this. The goat showed up to him. And so he perceives his biggest threat as this goat that is getting the entire town sick. And so he's on a righteous journey for a man who doesn't believe in God. But it can be a story of the fact that you don't have to be a righteous man to have a righteous mission. And that righteous mission is getting rid of that goat that's killing the entire town. And it's having and then that's what it is that he was seeing people get sick, but people were just being hungry before. Then he comes in and there's like 12, 16 people naked, kissing on the pastor while he stands over a goat giving birth. And he's like...
So the fear makes him not go through with his
The
mission.
fear and the understanding of how quickly things went from A, B to Z. Because after that second baby and they consumed like a half baby, half goat thingy, that was, the first one was hairless, but this one had like kneecaps and joints like a human kind of, but it still looked like a goat. When you consume that, it, the people that didn't die became all out, like lustful almost to the priest and to the goat. Where like people are kissing the goat and shit. Maybe even like they're kissing assholes and shit of the goat, because I know that witches used to kiss the asshole of cats. I don't know why, but
I think that's a dirty made up lie to shit on witches.
It could be. And we probably should shit on witches, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
But yeah, like, and it could even be like this. It could even be like this. I'll go on your lane. He sees this happen, and he sees the goat being the devil being born, and he sees the priest like happy. Chases down the priest, begins to beat him, and like as he's hitting his head on something, in the middle of the town, to be like, you did this, you're a man of God, and you did this, you destroyed our town. You see a man stand up behind him with horns. And the last righteous man is no longer righteous.
I like to walk through the town. I like to walk to the town joint.
Which one?
Not the original one. It doesn't matter. I was just asking why. He didn't kill a nigga.
Oh, just because of like, you're seeing the devil being born. I don't think anybody sees the devil being born. They're just like, all right, let me go kill that priest.
I mean,
you're real scared about that little nigga that just grew up like 12 years in 5 seconds.
What they perceived as the devil. You know what I mean?
I mean, they're all religious though. And in religion, they speak on the devil damn near as much as they do God. Because that's a nigga you have to be afraid of.
Right.
There's the sun and there's the moon. And that's how religion is. It's just like, if you're not listening to God, you're kind of listening to the devil. Yeah. And he was but
that's if you, because to an atheist, they don't believe in none of that shit. No matter if there was a Jesus, yeah, for sure, but none of that shit's real.
Everything changed when you see a nigga like do some shit that you can't understand. Like people are like, oh, I'm an atheist, but let you see like a nigga walk on some water and open up a time portal, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? I'm not saying you're gonna jump in a religion.
Natives fucking seen a nigga with a laser pointer and fucking.
And they were religious as shit.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. Fear is a different thing.
Fear leads to religion in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The fear of the dark,
great unknown and shit.
All of that shit, bro.
Yeah.
So,
that was decent, bro. I like that.
I like the. I kind of actually like the. To be real, I kind of like the alternate ending better, where he does kill the priest. But like,
I like the walking through and the people dancing behind him and shit. I think that's terrifying.
Right? Because it shows that people immediately are willing to praise him.
Yeah.
Fresh out the womb, and nobody's terrified of him besides the blacksmith.
Yeah, and nobody like knows why they were chosen to be the niggas that lived and some died. You know what I mean? Maybe like the ones that died still had faith in God, and then the ones that lived.
There you go.
Yeah,
and I want all these niggas that have fucked up eyes, and I mean like cross-eyed, really bad. After they go to that dark side, you remember the Passion of Christ?
Yeah.
When Judas is getting bit by those kids and their eyes are all fucked up.
Yeah.
I want it like that. We're like,
shout out to Mel Gibson.
You've lost the sight that God gave you. Now you see how the devil wants you to see.
Yeah.
And then boom. That's how it ends.
What do you call it?
Fuck. A blacksmith's dream. No, I'm just joking. What you got?
I ain't got shit.
Throw out something, you fuck.
I don't got anything. It's your fucking story. You name it, nigga.
Son of a bitch. The Last Born.
Okay.
There you go. The Last Born. That's what I got.
Okay.
Cool. And Joseph helped me out with the story because I totally forgot I even told him about the story.
Yeah.
So, shout out Joseph. If you guys like these things, gotta let us kind of know. You know what I mean? A little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just tell us a little something.
Yeah.
A little something. Good. 1 out of 10. Go fuck yourself. A little something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go to iTunes and leave a iTunes podcast. Leave us a fucking comment anywhere. I'm gonna post. I gotta catch up on all these fucking 40 plus episodes on YouTube, but they're gonna be on there too soon.
Let people know. Again, shout out Brussels. Shout out Ashburn. Weird market to be into, but hey, fuck it.
Sacramento stand up.
Y'all dig us. We dig y'all. We love you, Boardman. Shit. Everybody, thanks for listening. This will be the director's cut. We're going to call this The Last Born. And this is Patrick Wigfall signing off with my nigga and brother, Jody Pratt.
Later, man.
Thank you for joining us. And